Hey everyone, Scott Turner here, showing you how the Uni Watch membership card vegetarian sausage is made. All right. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to bring up the template that we've used since the beginning of the program. We do 8 to a card. These numbers down here are the numbers we use for the Uni Watch color orders, and this is a general arch that I can use to do lettering. After that, there's nothing at all that's even close to automatic or easy to do. The next thing I would do, I've already saved this, but I have to open up the orders that I get from Paul. This is one of the recent sheets, but I do know that it has everything that we need for this next sheet, which is sheet number 498. So I have to just sort of tool around here. I'm sure a lot of you are gonna look at this and say, what a clown, I could do that much more easy. It's $4.99.
Sheet 499?
Sheet 499 is what we need. So I'm gonna grab these two, bring them over here. Again, your mileage might vary in terms of how you do it. And I get a little, what's the word? I guess I get a little anal about how to do all this stuff and how I place it, but it's more comfortable for me to work when there's a certain order to it, because there is not a lot of order to making these cards at all. I'm just gonna put them in order that we received them. Paul does an enormous amount of work trying to get everything as easy to go for me as possible, and I appreciate that. So,
one thing I'll say is I used to enter the members' names in upper and lower case, and then at some point some years ago I switched to all caps because we put them in all caps on the cards, and I thought that way you could just copy paste them easily.
That's right, and I've never told you that I still type them anyway.
Well, I figured out actually that you still type them because occasionally there's a typo, and I thought, yeah, you didn't copy paste that.
There's never been a typo. I don't know what you're talking about. So what do we have? We have the Mets, well, our first Mets City Connect thing, but he just wants the sleeves, so that's odd. Current Nebraska.
You're good. That's Gordon Blount. You're going to meet him tonight.
Excellent.
He's going to be there tonight. You can tell him you worked on his card.
I worked on his card for this. I may be, depending on how long you want the camera to run, I may not work on them. Some of these are easier, and some of these are more time consuming.
Do an easy one. Easy one.
Well, now that this is here, normally for fun, what I would do is just go through here, look and see if I can guess what color it is, and just drop it in. And then, but I won't do that now. What I will do is I will go to our database, the current orders database on Google Drive. There it is. Since Paul's on tour, we have sheets going back to 486. We're on 499 now. And I'm going to go down here, and here are the links for all the source materials.
Yeah, when I enter the orders for Scott, I try to give a link to, what it is that the reader is asking for, unless it's something really obvious.
Yeah, and I'll copy these, and I drop them into the file. I will also do what's called clip masking, so I can see just what it is that I need, which in this case is the sleeve, which is an eccentric order for sure, but we love eccentric orders. Mm-hmm. And this,
the other two links are more helpful.
I know, but as a tradition, since you went to the trouble of including them, I put them all in there, and then what I also do is then go and find other photos that usually are even bigger help. This gives me a sense of what is needed. This is useful.
Yeah, I thought it would be.
Super useful. Flat images are really easy for us to make hay out of. And high-res images, see something like this is really good. Red.
The sleeve trim is what I was trying to show.
Yeah, yeah, and that'll take a while. This isn't one we're gonna do now.
Okay. Do a simple one now.
We'll get there. I will do a simple one. What's next? The Mets 86 pins. We've already done a couple of those, but that's not as simple as you'd think, and I can tell you why. Phillies 80s powder blue. We've done a bunch of those. That's a simple one. We do these every once in a while. One thing that's really important to remember doing these is that for football, for pointy ball, most pictures you see are of the front of a uniform, and those numbers are not shaped the way they are on the back. And even though it might be iconic to see these kind of squat numbers for current Nebraska fans, often in the back they're much longer and they don't look right, but they are accurate. In this case, it looks like Nebraska is keeping the proportion front and back, which is unusual. All right, what's next? Here's your Scranton baseball. Usually when there's 3 images, it seems like it's going to be trouble. And this is just the number and the logo. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
So one of those images is the logo.
Fantastic.
So that's the 1 because he asked for number 1.
Yeah.
And I wanted to show you a 1 in that font.
Somewhere I have this font. It's amazing how rarely I have the font that is needed. There's a lot of taking an existing font and manipulating it so that it matches. And that can go quickly, or that can be really time consuming. And it's the entire
It is.
thing. What an odd thing to put on a baseball jersey.
Yeah.
You know, I confess what I will do is I'll go into Photoshop later and I'll probably just take this and overlay it. I very rarely do I do that, and I'm talking like maybe 10 times the entire 3,500 we've done, because I want to draw them for people. I want to make them crisp. But sometimes this is just going to take forever.
Yeah, and it's going to be so small.
And it's going to be so small. I'll find a higher resolution. Well, actually, that'll work.
It's pretty good for the size we need, I think.
So we'll do that. But we very rarely do that. It's usually me doing vector images of this stuff. Sorry, I lost my way. It's Tulane, right here in New Orleans.
That's a doozy.
It's beautiful. Actually, what's great about this is that is a nice high resolution image that I can work with. Oops, I should have kept that up on the screen. So that'll work. Actually, this will be really, I wouldn't say easy to do or time efficient, but it won't involve any guesswork. Thanks. That's a large picture.
So you gather all the source material needed for all the cards on the sheet?
Yeah, I do that. And sometimes I won't start drawing until I've gone through. Like, I'll look at one of these and say, I need a better picture. I need a better picture of this Nebraska image. I need a flatter image so I can get the proportions between the nameplate and the lettering and the number. So I'll go and look, and a lot of times it's just a search for game-worn jerseys for whatever year it is. Another website that I go to is ha.com, Heritage Auctions. They are very gracious that they have incredibly high-resolution photos of the thousands of jerseys they've auctioned off. So they're quite good. Bill Henderson is a big help. Bill Henderson's guide when I'm doing baseball.
I just thought you might want another.
Yeah, it always helps. I think the first one is going to work just fine, but
Okay.
I'll put it here.
You skipped that Diamondbacks one, didn't you?
Did I?
Yes.
There's probably a reason for that. We've done a bunch of LSUs, especially from their national championship years. So more than likely what I'll do is just go back through the previous orders and find one, adapt it, and then just like, this is not a hard one to do, and I can probably do it here without adapting it to show you how it works. Did I really skip over a Diamondbacks? Oh, I did. Okay, so I had gone through these a couple of days ago.
Just to see what was in the pipeline?
Yeah, and as I was looking for other things for other orders on a couple of previous sheets, I went and found some as I went through the whole batch, and I saved them somewhere. So I have this and I can adapt that, the one that I saved.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one is the Nuggets Original Rainbow.
And so for these reference photos, sometimes those are given to me by the member making the order, and I always ask them to do that. And sometimes I either replace their photos or supplement their photos with photos that I look for myself based on what I think will be most helpful to Scott.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah, and then I know you could ultimately then go looking for your own photos. But at least it's a starting point. Oh, look at that.
So that would be a navy blue, more of a Yankees. And this is the royal blue. Now you will see that it's not really, if you go in close, it's not really a healthy royal blue. I muted all of the pinstripes because I found that having them a little bit lighter in the background helped the numbers and the names jump off, especially with a printing process. If you have the Yankees and it's just their midnight blue and their midnight, and I have full midnight blue pinstripes, then the number tends to get lost.
I noticed that most. I noticed that most on Phillies jerseys. The paler red is very apparent, but not in a bad way. It's. I totally get that it works. And so these royal blue. This is for the Mets.
That's for the Mets 86.
86. Okay, and for that one, for anyone watching, you may have noticed there was no reference photo for that, and that's because.
We've done a million.
Yeah, Scott knows what the 86 Mets look like.
In fact, I'm going to have this statistic before Paul's last day, after Paul leaves New Orleans tonight. I've gone through and counted up the two leading teams that have been ordered. And that's the Mets and the Chicago Cubs.
Oh, interesting. I would not have guessed the Cubs.
Yeah, I would have thought other teams, but certainly the Mets and the Cubs. And so I'm going through and counting, and I have somewhere I have the running count through about 300 sheets of our 500. So this one I can't do right now because I've got to try and figure out a way to recreate this dumbass sidewalk pattern.
Yeah.
It's so dreary. I mean, it's a good jersey. It's so dreary. So anyway, so I have to recreate that, and then the pinstripes are thicker and wider, so that's for another day. These guys are going to be purple. We used to do a whole bunch of different shades of purple, and we found printing them that the bluer purples just print as blue. So we
pretty much use one purple now.
We use one purple now, and I hate that. Sometimes we'll do a different thing.
Sometimes you try and sneak a different shade by.
I do, and you won't let me.
It's because I know, because I'm the one who, I open the package when it comes from the printer, and I look at the sheets, and I think, that doesn't look purple, it looks blue.
See, all right, this green is more this green. No, it's not that green. It's not that green. It's not that green. It's close to that green.
Come on, man, it's a New Orleans green. You're a New Orleans guy.
Yeah, we equivocate on that issue. Just like trying to figure out what neighborhood you live in. So those are the base colors right now. This is going to be a, whoops, sorry. This is going to be a maybe this dark gray.
For the Mets. So this is what the first thing you do is that you put the backgrounds in for each card.
I do, and I guess, and then I usually do this. I was telling Paul, I usually do this before I even go and get the source photos, just to test my skills. And half the time I get it right. Whoops, this is supposed to. I've gotten confused here. Phillies powder blue. Scranton is that purple. On the D-backs is this. And then I think, did you put one too many in?
Did I? I tried to count.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. This is just straight up royal blue. One thing, Paul, that you know, but I'll tell everyone else, is that I no longer have access to the Pantone colors. Adobe and Pantone had a big falling out, and forever Illustrator, Photoshop, whatever had Pantone colors. Now I don't, so I'm much more reliant on the few remaining color books that they still have in Illustrator. I'm too cheap to buy Pantone because it's expensive.
Yep.
And
what is the royal blue for? Oh, for the nuggets.
The nuggets. And this is the green that we think is the green. All right, so let's do this. Let's do the LSU. So I'm gonna go. Actually, I can use this. I would go for a flat one. I'm not going to take the time now. LSU has these odd colors. I'm sorry, these odd numbers. 78.
Yeah, it's not quite a traditional block font.
Right. I am actually going to try and find an LSU. Because 4s and 7s and 2s, just because it's a block number doesn't mean that it's what you think it will be. There are different kinds of shapes.
So you're looking for an LSU jersey that includes the numbers 7 and or 8.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure what the 8 would be, because that 9 that we just saw, the Joe Burrows jersey. You have to.
There was a 78. Go back.
That?
No. Go scroll down. Scroll down. Where'd it go? There was a guy wearing 78. Wait, get rid of the preview. There, on the left.
There you go. All right. So.
And again, it's the front, not the back.
But I can compare it.
Yeah.
I'll create it as it is, and then I will compress it and proportionalize it so that it matches what's on the back. All right, so you'd be surprised how many block numbers have a serif that will come down to here, or it'll go up a little bit like that. People think that just, it's a block number. That's just not at all what it is. And, to help get it right for our members, you got to kind of try and match it up as best as you can. I mean, I want to make it clear that I don't have a program where I can just put in the member's name and the member's number, and then the team the member wants.
Right, and it spits it out somehow.
And even if it did, it wouldn't be. Even these numbers, like the Mets have worn these numbers since the beginning of time, with the exception of some of their road jerseys in the 60s and 70s. The shape of this 6 on an Al Weiss jersey is not the same as was in the 80s or the 90s, even though it's the same style of number. So you just gotta keep an eye out. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a standard varsity. We got a whole bunch of varsities. Here, let me show you the different varsities. And there are a lot of you designers out there who are going to have a lot more than even I have. You see, it does different things. I like that style better. That's it's called a classic style. I have all the NFL numbers, or at least all the ones from maybe 6 years ago. They were current. Some of them still used. And people have helped me out with this. But they don't always work. For instance, if you look on the right-hand side in the middle, this is just some defect in the, this is just some defect in this. I'll go to the outlines mode so you can see it's all messed up. So I'm just gonna fix it, which I have to do every time I use a Varsity 8. I don't think you need all the explanation here of what all these doodads are that I'm working with. All right, so that's fixed now. So let's look at this 8. I'm going to do what's called educated guesswork, and instead of laying it against the number, I'm just going to do what looks right. I'm gonna
soften those corners a little.
Yeah. So I need to come up a little bit more and come over a little bit like that. And I am positive. You know what? I gotta start over for a reason that I don't care to go into. What do you think, Paul?
I might come over even a little more to the left there. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And then it looks like the negative space is different too.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to squeeze those.
So I hope everyone watching this can appreciate, like you say, it's not as simple as just typing a 78. There's a lot of work that goes into something even as simple as an LSU road jersey, which is pretty simple, but damn. This is actually the first time I've ever seen Scott do this. So I had some idea, but it is still really something to see how much labor and expertise and knowledge all go into the creation. I like that.
That's how we do that.
Uh-huh.
And if you see, these cutouts are really tall.
Uh-huh.
They're surprisingly
Yeah.
tall. So now, because of the fold here, it's a little hard to know whether or not. Sometimes with these numbers, the crossbar will not be in the middle. This one is not in the middle right now.
It's raised a little, right?
You can see this is the middle, and it's just a little higher. So
yeah, that looks right.
What do you think, Paul? You think these are even?
I think I think you have it right. I think it should be a little higher. Like I think having a little higher is.
It should be a little higher.
Yeah.
So a little bigger on the bottom.
Yeah.
All right. So, and with this, you can see the serif
Is
is longer here. So let's move that up. And you can see these are also stubbier.
More than that, though, the angle is different.
Yeah, well, we'll fix that in a second. I think that often these bottom serifs on a 7, one side will be longer. The side on the
Yeah,
right.
that's interesting.
Okay, so first of all, I'm going to do that. And second of all, we're going to move this in because you can see,
Right.
again, there's a fold. But it's something along the lines of that. I, for comfort's sake, still want to look at another 7 because this stuff down here
Yeah.
is not sure enough for me.
Now, can you look at a 7 on a purple jersey, or does it have to be on the white jersey? Can you as well? You found one on the white
I
jersey.
found one on the white jersey. Often, if I can't find one, I'll go and I'll look up that year's team's roster.
Right.
I'll find
and
players
find that
that
player.
wore that
Yeah.
number. And what I try and look for is the most popular player on
Yes.
the team.
Yes. I do the same thing when I'm looking for photos for you.
Thank you.
We have the same research tricks.
So this is also, you have to be careful. I'm cheating a little bit, maybe for time for this video, but this is showing me what I want. The thing you have to be careful though is that numbers on the front, not only are they narrower and taller on the back, but it's not just that they've been reproportioned, right? Yeah, and you particularly see that on sleeve numbers, especially back in the 60s, 70s, 80s. Sleeve numbers would have a whole different shape than what's going on the front of the back of the jersey. All right, so
It's pretty close. I would say the bottom serif, the left part, we could shorten a little.
well, so here's what we'll do here.
Oh, you're going to overlay it.
I'm gonna overlay it. I'm gonna do this as well. Still with us, kids? So this is where you now see that we didn't move it enough. I'm going to lock down this image. So I can move this on top of it. There are all sorts of hand keystrokey kind of things that you can do. Some I've learned and some I haven't. So you Illustrator workers out there will be right to say, well, you could just do this. You could just do that. See, so it was originally a basic block number, but like I say, there's never any such thing as a basic block number. All right, so it looks odd. I think it looks odd.
It does, but that's what they're wearing.
Right. So let's. Oops, sorry. I'm just gonna get rid of that because it's done its job. Doesn't that look odd?
Yep.
No. If Nike or the LSU equipment manager wants to give me some different evidence, we'll redo the card. How's that sound? All right. The other thing I'm going to do here, actually I don't have to. These are original. Sometimes I have to make sure the thickness of this number, if I've hand drawn it or hand traced it, meets the thickness of this, and that takes another 5 or 10 minutes. Right, see, doesn't it look like it's thicker up here than it is down here?
No, I think those. It just seems top heavy because of the angle.
I'm gonna just check one thing. See, it is different down here. You can see that. So we have a decision to make. Do we want to, I guess we should do this and move this point. It's a very analog way of using Illustrator. It's both the same thickness down here as it is up here, and this looks more balanced. So
All right.
I think that's what I want to go with.
Okay.
This isn't the 1940s or 50s or 60s where you have constantly written about the eccentricities
Yes.
of weird misshapen letters and numbers. All right, so there's our 78. By this picture, it does look like they put their numbers pretty close together. That's another thing. So what's the space between the numbers? So there's that. Now, I'm going to put it against this Joe Burrow jersey and see if basically proportionally it all works. And it looks like Burrow's number is still narrower by a little bit. And I'm taking into account, you also learn to read how, since it's at an angle, it looks narrower, but you gotta figure out, well, I see what it's doing there in the photo, but that's not really what it is. Let's just see if there's a... And is it really? Oh, sorry. And you just have to be good at what you see and sort of figure out if it's a game worn or if it's a replica or...
How about this? How about for time?
Yeah.
We bring that 78 in. Is it possible to just finish the card and get the idea of it to see how the remaining steps go?
We can. I'm just going to do one thing here. Okay. Yes, let's do that. So let's return it to its rightful purple. And we're going to leave that right there. Because now, luckily, this is pretty straight up block lettering, but if you notice, the A is wider. They seem to use kind of a more of a Major League Baseball. Well, what is the name of the number one? Tardif.
So it does have an A.
It does have an A. I'm surprised no member of Uni Watch has ever ordered a lorem ipsum card. You know you have a typesetter there. So there's that. Let's switch it to... Switching to MLB block. See the A changes.
Mhm.
And now I'm just, there are such subtleties in how wide the letters are. You can figure it out really well by this, that empty space on the A versus this empty space. This looks a little more square, right? Right?
But the other one doesn't. The first one, the first R.
Yeah, so you gotta figure that out.
I think it's just because it's sort of, dipped there.
Yeah, you usually have one letter that's pretty flat that you can compare it to. And this B is pretty useful. And it looks like that's what we're gonna go with. Another thing that you wanna look at is the size and the shape of the nameplates. Sometimes the nameplate goes all the way to the end of the jersey. If there aren't stripes here, UCLA stripes. But this one's a little more manageable. And there's a handy way to center these two things, this gizmo and that gizmo. So now it's in the middle, and then we just have to figure out if those proportions look right to you.
Nameplate looks like it needs to move to the left a little.
Well, it's centered.
Is it?
Yeah.
Look how much of the 7 was hanging off of.
Oh no, between these two?
Yeah.
I just meant is the A.
Is the
name
lettering
inside.
centered? Right? Yes, that all looks good.
See, if we were doing this online by email,
yes.
I would have done something different. You
Right.
would have written, so that's there. Okay, I'm going to turn that to purple. I'm going to group these so they're one thing. There's that. And there we go. And the final thing is, I'm gonna make these. As a fan of older football jerseys, I hate that the UCLA stripes are truncated so badly and so awful, and why even bother at this point? However, for Uni Watch, it is a lot easier to do this with a membership program. And again, these two tools, which center it vertically and center it horizontally, I can just use them. It's subtle.
And then you just dupe that stripe for the other side.
That's right. All right, so, and I'm gonna group them all together so they're one thing. You're not gonna see very much of it, unfortunately.
Of the stripe, you mean?
Yeah. I'm gonna group everything and center it now. I center it on this burgundy frame.
But we usually put the stripes a bit wider, right?
Well, we do, but proportionately,
right.
It matched up
with
with the proportions of the name and the number. So I'm centering it now. You can make it ever so slightly bigger. And pull this down a little bit more to give it a little more heft. And then just make sure that this frame is on top. and it covers up the tops of the stripes. And that's it.
There you go, people. The quick and easy making of a Uni Watch membership card.
And just to say, and I'll look at it at this point. I'll look at it and I'll go back to the picture and say, yeah, that nameplate doesn't look right, and I will fuss with it some. But that's what we would say is a simple one.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. We should have done this a long time ago, except that we haven't been in the same room in a long time.
Absolutely. So get those orders in. Get those orders in.
All right.
For the 26th.
Yep. For May 26th, that'll be the last day you can do it. The last day you can put Scott through these paces.